It's time for another in-depth look at Louisville's depth charts and what you can expect to see during Week 1 of the 2012 season. Last night, Raashaan Myers and I broke apart Louisville's offense, so tonight he joins me once again to take a look at the U of L defense. And Raashaan, let's start off with the defensive line. First, defensive end. You've got two big-time names there, Marcus Smith, a former quarterback, and B.J. Butler. We'll talk about the unit as a whole in a minute, but tell me about those two guys. I mean, Marcus Smith, showed up as a third down pass rush specialist. They think he can be an every down player this year.
Yeah, Marcus Smith is a guy who was strictly a pass rush specialist last year, but he's gotten stronger. He's gotten in his playbook, worked on his technique, and now they feel that he can be an every down defensive end, not only in run support or in pass support, but run support as well.
And B.J. Butler, we've seen flashes of him. When you've got him as that's the thing about this line. I mean, they don't have a household name yet, but it seems like they've got 8, 9, 10 guys who you can put in there and there won't be any drop-off whatsoever.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing about this defense as well as offense is that you have capable backups at every spot. And B.J. Butler's a guy who came in, had a great freshman season, dealt with some injuries last year, so people are definitely hoping that he can get back to his form as a freshman. And you know what? I think he looked pretty good this year, so hopefully he can hold on to that.
You talk about the tackles. You got Roy Phelan and big Brandon Dunn in there at nose, and talking to Vance Bedford at media day, he thinks there's a chance that both of these guys could really end up being special.
Yeah, Brandon Dunn's been a guy that's been talked up big time. He's been said to be the inspirational leader of this football team, and you got to love it as a Kentucky person from the state of Kentucky, as you have two homeboys in the middle there, two kids from the state of Kentucky, Phelan from out in the state, Brandon Dunn from Louisville, and those two guys hold it down there. Brandon Dunn, I think, is in for a very big season this year.
Defensive end, you got B.J. DuBose, Lorenzo Malden are a couple of the names there. Is there anybody on the defensive line that we haven't heard a lot about yet that you think could emerge as a player this year?
Well, B.J. DuBose is going to, of course, get a lot of time. Deontrez Mount is another guy that's going to get a lot of time on the exterior. You have a couple of freshmen, D'Angelo Brown as well as Sheldon Rankins, that I've been told have looked very good, but the question mark is, with so much talent, will they go ahead and redshirt those two guys? And that'll be something to keep an eye on, because if they're going to play, I fully expect them to play against Kentucky.
Moving on to the linebackers, you mentioned Deontrez Mount. He's played some linebacker, can move up. But at Mike, you've got Preston Brown, who's a super talent. Looks like he's on the verge of becoming a big-time player. And talk about some of the freshmen. They got a couple of freshmen in early. I don't know if these guys will crack the starting lineup, but I imagine you'll see a couple of these guys filling in some of those backup spots.
Well, with the linebacker core, I've already come up with the name. It's going to be Meet the Browns, because you have Daniel Brown, Preston Brown in the middle, and Keith Brown, the freshman superstar out of Florida, that's going to definitely make an impact this year. Keith Brown has been a young man that since the very first day of fall camp played with the ones. He was a starter, and I expect for him to continue to be that way. Preston Brown, moving over from outside into the middle, has been none short of very solid. I think, backing up for Dexter Heyman, his brother last year, helped him learn a little bit. I think Preston is going to do very well in the middle, and on the outside with Daniel and with Keith, I think they're going to be in for a good time. Now, Nick Dawson is the other freshman. He didn't get here until the summertime. He's been working to catch up. Of course, Keith Brown came in for spring, so he was a little bit ahead, but I think that you will see Nick get an opportunity as well. He has a lot of talent.
The secondary, boy, they struggled early, but by the end of the year, they were looking pretty good. Big things are expected out of these guys this year, and it starts with Hakeem Smith back there at safety.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who could be an All-American this year. Hakeem Smith has been solid since he stepped on campus. I think that will continue. He's basically the general in the middle of the field there. You're going to have him, and of course, I think they struggled early because you had a lot of first-year guys. Adrian Bouchel was not even playing at the very beginning of the year, so he had to acclimate. You had Andrew Johnson, who was a freshman. Calvin Pryor, who ended up taking over that spot at safety, was a freshman as well. But as those guys matured, they turned into one of the best units in the Big East. And I think that you're going to see that maturation continue this year, as well as adding a very, very talented freshman in Gerard Holliman, a former U.S. Army All-American that was not eligible to play that last year. He's been in. He's making an impact. So I'm very excited to see where these guys can do.
Bouchel, a lot of people think he's a next level, that he'll be playing on Sunday.
Yeah, I definitely think he's going to be a guy that's going to hear his name called for the NFL draft this year. Number 21 was all around the ball at the end of last year, so it's going to be exciting to see just how Charlie Strong's defense, which they have said is by far the best defense that they've had since they've been here, how those guys perform.
And finally, special teams, real quick, they need to fill in some spots, in the kicking game and in the return game as well. What are you hearing about maybe some options there?
Well, you're going to be breaking in a new punter and a new kicker. You have Ryan Wallace that's going to get, John Wallace is going to get an opportunity there. With the punter, you have Josh Appleby, a young man out of Alabama that seems to have taken hold of the punting spot.
Freshman, right?
True freshman. And I think he's going to be very, very good. I think Wallace and Appleby are the two guys to keep an eye on as far as specialists. With the kick return game, there's a lot of different ways you can go. Eli Rogers did the kicking game last year. We've talked about the possibility of maybe Bryce McNeil, the transfer from Clemson, getting an opportunity there as well. I think you can look for him as well as maybe Charles Gaines Jr. To get a shot there as well. So it's going to be exciting.
All right. Well, Raashaan, thanks for joining me again, and looking forward to big games here. I know you're excited about it.
Wait.
Be here before you know it.